Ice Age looks like a fun survival story, a frozen world, cute animals, a family-friendly adventure, bright colors, soft jokes, characters designed to be lovable, but once you actually pay attention, it's deeply wrong because this world wasn't struggling, it wasn't adapting, it wasn't even fighting back, it was already collapsing. Most people think Ice Age is about survival, friendship, and adaptation, a group of animals learning to live together while the world freezes over. Different species, different instincts, one shared journey. That's how it's framed, that's how it's remembered, as a hopeful story about sticking together when things get hard. And that's exactly why this is disturbing. Because if you look at the Ice Age world itself, it doesn't make sense. This isn't a planet entering an ice age. There's no gradual shift, no slow adjustment, no time to adapt. This is a planet where ecosystems are already breaking, species are already disappearing, and migration isn't optional, it's mandatory. Animals aren't preparing to leave, they're fleeing. For this to be happening at this scale, something much worse had to happen earlier. Something fast, something violent, something irreversible, which means by the time the story starts, we're already late. On the surface, mass migration seems normal. Animals moving south to survive the cold. That's what migration is supposed to be. Seasonal, predictable, temporary. But according to Ice Age's own timeline, entire ecosystems are abandoning their habitats at once. Not just herds, not just prey, predators, prey, entire food chains, everything moving in the same direction at the same time, which means the environment didn't slowly change, it failed suddenly, not eventually, already, and if food systems collapse this fast, most animals wouldn't migrate. They wouldn't have the energy, they would starve first. So the ones we see moving are already the survivors. So, yeah. Fun movie. On the surface, mammoths seem powerful and dominant, large, respected leaders of this world. They look like stability, like pillars holding the ecosystem together. But mammoths in Ice Age are shown as endangered, fragmented, and constantly relocating. They're not thriving, they're running, which means even apex species can't survive here. The top of the food chain is already failing. Not eventually, already. And when apex species collapse, everything below them collapses faster. Prey populations destabilize, predators lose structure, entire systems unravel. Still cute though. On the surface, predators and prey coexist unusually peacefully. No constant hunting, no territorial wars, no real dominance. It looks wholesome. But that only happens when hunting stops being viable, when chasing prey costs more energy than it provides, when survival means conserving strength, not asserting control. Which means the world isn't dangerous, it's exhausted, not eventually, already. A world where predators stop hunting is a world near ecological death, because hunger has been replaced by hopeless math, adorable exhaustion. On the surface, humans appear briefly and then vanish. Just silhouettes, camps, traces of civilization, then nothing. But humans don't vanish unless conditions are extreme. Cold alone doesn't erase civilizations. Humans adapt. They migrate, they rebuild, which means humans didn't leave, they couldn't survive, not eventually, already. And if humans failed here with tools, fire, and cooperation, animals never stood a chance. Family entertainment. At this point, you probably think I'm overthinking this. That would be fair. It's an animated movie. It's meant to be light, except this keeps happening. Across locations, across species, across every layer of the world. The real problem isn't Scrat, or the cold, or even extinction events. Those are symptoms. It's the world itself. Ice Age's system only works if most of the population doesn't survive. That's the hidden rule, unsee. Migration isn't hope, it's filtration. Only the lucky, only the fast, only the adaptable. Everyone else is already gone. And that's why the Ice Age world feels so quiet. Not peaceful, not calm, empty. There are no large populations, no thriving habitats, no sense of recovery, just movement, a constant forward motion away from places that can no longer support life. Notice how nothing ever gets rebuilt. No territory is reclaimed, no ecosystem stabilizes, no balance returns. Every location exists only temporarily because this world isn't cycling, it's draining. Even time behaves differently here. Days pass, journeys continue, but nothing improves. The cold doesn't lift, resources don't replenish. The future never opens up. The world is stuck in the aftermath of something it never recovered from. Which means the Ice Age isn't the disaster, it's the aftermath. The quiet period after extinction has already done its work. The story doesn't begin at the collapse, it begins after most of the damage is already irreversible. So Ice Age isn't about survival, it's about selection, about which species get lucky enough to move at the right time in the right direction. Not because they're better, but because they're still alive when the collapse finishes. And once you see it that way, every scene changes. The jokes feel quieter, the landscapes feel emptier, the silences feel heavier. That's why the world always feels empty, why danger feels distant but loss feels constant, why we never see what was lost, because this isn't a story about surviving the Ice Age. It's a story about the few who made it out after everything else was already gone, and that's the bizarre lore of Ice Age's world because it was never okay, not even at the beginning.